Good morning, students. Welcome back to the lecture series of remote sensing. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about spectral reflectance curve. So, you are all aware about the electromagnetic energy spectrum. Electromagnetic energy incident on the surface features are partially reflected, absorbed, or transmitted through it, through atmosphere or any other, or through the surrounding atmosphere. The fraction of that are reflected, absorbed, and transmitted vary with the material type and the condition of the feature. It also varies with the wavelength of the incident energy. Majority of the remote sensing system operates in the region in which the surface features the most reflected incident energy. The reflectance characteristic of a surface features are represented using a spectral reflectance curve. And this lecture covers the spectral reflectance characteristic of some of the important surface features, which include we will see about vegetation. Understanding the spectral reflectance curves for different features at different wavelengths is essential to interpret and to analyze an image obtained in any one or multiple wavelength. So let us begin our lecture. Our first case study or study will be on spectral reflectance curve for vegetation. The spectral reflectance curve for vegetation. The spectral reflectance for a curve for a healthy green vegetation exhibits the peak and valleys as the configuration as illustrated in the figure. Now you can see the peaks are strong. I mean to say the peak indicate a strong reflection and the valleys indicate a predominant absorption of energy in the corresponding wavelength bands. In general, healthy vegetation are very good absorbers of electromagnetic energy in the visible region. The absorption greatly reduces and reflection increases in the red or infrared boundary near 0.7 micrometer. The reflectance is nearly constant from 0.7 to 1.3 micrometer and then decreases for a longer wavelength. Spectral response of vegetation depend on the structure of plant leaves. As shown in the figure, a cell structure of a green leaf and the interaction with the electromagnetic radiation. This figure is obtained from Gibson book written by Gibson published in 2000. Now as you can see in the cell structure, the valleys you can clearly see the IRG and R. The electromagnetic response from a green healthy vegetation is at green visible and near infrared wavelengths. Now infrared radiation penetrates the leaf as far as mesophyll cells where it is reflected back. Mesophyll cells are within the leaf. Okay, the green light is reflected back by the chlorophyll pigment within the chloroplast in the palisade cell. Blue and red light are absorbed and used in photosynthesis by the chlorophyll pigment in the palisade cells. So if you can see the cell structure of a green leaf and interaction with the electromagnetic radiation, just the image is just a representation. Actually there will be a lot more of interaction, but and a lot more of biology will be included, but this is the basic thing which is required to be known. The valley in the visible portion of the spectrum are due to the pigment in plant leaves. The palisade cells contain sacs of green pigment, chlorophyll. Green pigment is nothing but a chlorophyll that strongly absorb the energy in the wavelength band centered at 0.45 to 0.67 micrometer within the visible region, which corresponds to the blue and red wavelength. As shown in the next figure, which I am showing in the slide, On the other hand, the reflection peak of a green color in the visible region, which makes our eye perceive healthy vegetation as green in color. However, only 10 to 15% of the incident energy is reflected in the green band. As you can see, how much percentage? If you can see the graph which I am showing you, wavelength versus reflectance in percentage graph, you can see that blue wavelength and red wavelength are absorbed the most. Actually, they are reflected the least, and green wavelength is reflected the least. And you can see about the curvature of different type of plants. For example, the deciduous plant, a grass, aquatic plant, a coniferous plant. You can clearly see different type of features in the a particular vegetation. This particular graph shows the for a healthy vegetation in the visible and near infrared wave bands. In the reflected infrared portion, that is near infrared region of the spectrum, at 0.7 micrometer, the reflectance of the healthy vegetation increases dramatically. In the range from 0.7 to 1.3 micrometer, a plant leaf reflects about 50% of energy incident upon it. The infrared radiation penetrates the palisade cells and reaches the irregularly packed mesophyll cells, which make up the body of the leaf. The mesophyll cells reflect almost 60% of the near infrared radiation reaching this layer, the upper layer. Reaching this layer means reaching the mesophyll cells layer. Healthy vegetation therefore shows brighter response in the near infrared region compared to the green region, as the leaf structure is highly variable between plant species. Reflectance measured in this range often permit discriminations between species to species. Even if they look same in visible wavelength, they have these different features, which is shown in this next figure. As you can clearly see, the difference between healthy vegetation and a stressed vegetation. If a plant is subjected to some form of stress that interrupts its normal growth and productivity, it may decrease or cease chlorophyll production. The result is less absorption in the blue and red bands in the palisade. Hence, the red and blue bands also get reflected along with the green band, giving yellow or brown color of the stressed vegetation. Also, in stressed vegetation, the NIR band are no longer reflected by the mesophyll cells. Instead, they are absorbed by the stressed or the dead cells, causing dark tones in the image. And so, the structure, the reflectance curve is different. And here you can see the comparison of reflectance curve of spectral triangles of healthy and stressed or unhealthy vegetation. This is again the whole images is obtained from Gibson's book. Now, what about beyond infrared region? So, beyond 1.3 micrometer, energy incident upon the plants is essentially absorbed or reflected within little or no transmissions of energy. The dip in the reflectance curve occur at 1.4, 1.9 and 2.7 micrometer, as water in the leaf strongly absorb the energy at this wavelength. So, wavelengths in this spectral region are referred as water absorption band. Reflectance peak occurs at 1.6 and 2.2 micrometer between the absorption bands. Okay, at wavelength beyond 1.3 micrometer, leaf reflectance is approximately inversely related to the total water present in the leaf. This total water is a function of both the moisture content and the thickness of the leaf. Similarly, the reflection and absorption and transmission of electromagnetic radiation by the vegetation also varies with wavelength. Transmission of electromagnetic radiation is less in the visible region and it increases in the infrared region. Therefore, the energy transmitted by one layer is available for reflection and absorption by the layers below it, as it is shown in the figure which I am showing you right now on the slide. Due to multi-layer reflection, the total infrared reflection from thicker canopies, I mean to say plants, will be more compared to thin canopy cover. From the near infrared, the density of the vegetation canopy can thus be interpreted. As you can see here in the next image, in this, the reflectance from a dense forest and thin vegetation canopy. Here you can see the image of tree and sun. Okay, so as the reflectance in the IR bands of the electromagnetic spectrum varies with the leaf structure and the canopy density, the measurement in the IR region can be used to discriminate the tree or vegetation species. For example, spectral reflectance of deciduous and coniferous tree may be similar in the green band, as you are seeing in the image of the graph. However, the coniferous tree show higher reflection in the near infrared region, which is clearly seen and can be easily differentiated. Similarly, for dense grown agriculture area, I mean the densely grown agriculture area, the NIR signature will be more. I hope it is understandable to you. So next, moving to the spectral reflectance of soil. Okay, the sum of the factors which affect the soil reflectance are moisture content, soil texture, that is the proportion of slate, sand and clay, the surface roughness, the presence of iron oxide and organic matter content. These factors are complex, variable and interrelated. For example, just for example, the presence of moisture in soil decreases its reflectance. As with vegetation, this effect is greatest in water absorption band at 1.4, 1.9 and 2.7 micrometer. On the other hand, similar absorption characteristics are displayed by clay soils. Clay soils have hydroxyl ion, which is having a absorption bands at 1.4 and 2.2 micrometer. Soil moisture content is strongly related to soil texture. For example, coarse sandy soils are usually well drained, resulting in low moisture content and relatively high reflectance. On the other hand, poorly drained, fine textured soils generally have lower reflectance. In the absence of water, however, the soil itself exhibits a reverse tendency, that is, coarse textured soils appear darker than fine textured soils. The two other factors that reduces the soil reflectance are surface roughness and the content of the organic matter. Presence of iron oxide in a soil also significantly decreases the reflectance, at least in the visible region of wavelengths. Moving to the next topic, the spectral reflectance in water. So, we talked about vegetation, we talked about soil. Now comes the important part of earth, that is water. Water provides a semi-transparent medium for electromagnetic spectrum energy, radiation. Thus, the electromagnetic radiation gets reflected, transmitted or absorbed in water. The spectral responses vary with the wavelength of the radiation and the physical and chemical characteristics of the water. Spectral reflectance of the water varies with its physical condition. In the solid phase, uh, for example, ice or snow, solid phase of water, it gives a good reflection at all visible wavelength. On the other hand, reflection in the visible region is poor in case of water in the liquid stage. This difference in reflectance is due to the difference in the atomic bonding in the liquid and solid states. Water in the liquid form shows high reflectance in the visible region, which is between 0.4 micrometer to 0.6 micrometer. Wavelength beyond 0.7 micrometer are completely absorbed. Thus, clear water vapors, thus clear water appears in darker tone in the NIR image, near infrared domain image. Locating and delineating water bodies with remote sensing data is done more easily in reflected infrared wavelengths because of this absorption property. For example, as I am showing you in this figure, a part of Krishna River basin in different bands of Landsat ETM imagery has been shown. The water body appears in dark color in all bands and displays sharp contrast in the IR band. If it is visible to you, if you can clearly watch it, we can clearly see the flow of the river, whatever band it would be, in band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, band 5. In each band I can clearly see the water body as it is appearing dark compared to the background characteristics with sharp contrast and extremely sharp contrast in the IR bands. This particular images are taken from Nagesh Kumar and Ramesh Devi's article, which has been published in 2013. However, various conditions of water body manifest themselves primarily in visible region, in visible wavelength. The energy matter interaction